I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Hope you all had a good 4th. First item on the agenda is to approve our agenda.
Move. Second.
Motion by Gage, second by Feldheim is what I heard.
Okay.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Next up, the opportunity for public comment. Is there anyone here to address the commission this morning on any topic that isn't on the agenda? Anyone at all out there online or on the phone? Pretty quiet this morning. We'll keep moving. Next up, Jesse Payson and Jody Hepperly with the Vera St. Luke's Behavioral Health. I think they're in the hall, yeah. Morning, Ross. Good morning.
Morning.
Come on in, have a seat.
Okay.
How are you today?
Good.
Good.
All right. I don't know how you want us to
You're on.
start. All right. I'm Jody Hepperly. I'm the clinical supervisor at Avera Addiction Care Center.
And I'm Jessie Payson, Director of Behavioral Health Services.
So we're here to just address our request for funding,
Okay.
as we have done historically through the years. We have been very grateful for the assistance that we have had from the county to help to offset the costs for services that we provide to many of the residents of Brown County who are in need of services for addiction. We provide about 6 levels of care in addition to some prevention services. So we offer some inpatient and residential services as well as outpatient services. We provide services for individuals that have issues with alcohol, drug, and gambling addictions. A lot of our patients do meet income guidelines, and we do receive some funding from the state. Unfortunately, that does not meet all of our budget needs, so any money that you are able to supplement that does assist with some of our needs.
Okay. We haven't gotten to your tab in our budget process. We've gone through budget hearings the last couple of weeks, but what is your current request for the year?
$25,000.
25, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I haven't looked that far ahead, so.
Yep.
All right.
In 2021, also, I just want to, because we haven't been here for a while, but we started the intensive meth treatment program, so that is 16 weeks that we're working with those individuals, which is much longer than your typical 28-day program. So that's really integrating them back into the community, helping them get jobs, and some of the costs associated with that, then obviously this would benefit.
Sure. All right.
The requested allocation's been the same for a number of years.
Yep.
That was my next question.
Yep. All right. Any questions?
Do you guys track, because we do have that opioid money, but we have to be able to tie it to opioid use disorder. So if there was a way to get a figure, we can use that as a reimbursement, and that might either help supplement the request or be gravy on top. So I don't know how you guys track who's in there for what, but that's one thing to think about in the future, and it's not going anywhere. I think we get it for like 18 years, or 15 years or something like that.
We have data that we can pull to look at those numbers, diagnoses, and all of that.
Yeah, we're kind of just taking a wait-and-see approach, seeing kind of what works and what doesn't. State's Attorney Anderson is looking at it now, but that's one thing to think about in the future, is that there is money available there. But we just have to be able to tie it to opioid use disorder.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a result of the global settlement with
Yep.
the manufacturers.
And there's 2 more coming with distributors. I think CVS was one, and I forget who the other one was. So I don't know what that'll amount to, but we're
Okay.
involved in that as well.
So, gotta be documented properly, but it's also the additional resources to address that as appropriate. So, I was just curious, knowing that you do a lot of tracking and stuff within long program, what do you got just for a feel for documentation about the effectiveness? Because I know recidivism is a tough deal, and that's not something, even with the extended period of time that you guys have got, it still takes a lot of follow-up, and after that, it's a tough cycle to break.
Yeah. To be honest, I don't have the data off the top of my head.
That's fine.
We could get that information for you guys. I don't even want to project, because I don't want to mislead the wrong way.
No, that's okay, even your impression, you know, I'm not gonna hold you to it. But I'm
Yeah, I would say it's still, split with the success rates versus those that we end up seeing back, or relapsing shortly after, even with that longer program.
Well, it takes a desire on the part of your clients. I mean,
Yeah.
if they want to,
Yeah.
and if they really want help,
Yeah.
encouraging them to reach out for help and then consistently, because it's way too easy to fall back and lapse back into those kind of situations, especially when you're thrown back into, you know, the same habits with the same friends that you have that are still
Exactly.
doing that. And
Yep, their environment impacts their recovery and all of that.
And that's what is nice about that longer program, and again, like Jesse said, to reintegrate them into the community, is that they get jobs, they do community service, they have that opportunity to get passes. So we're trying to get them connected with some positive supports while they're here. We do get referrals from outside of Aberdeen and the Brown County community, but some of them have chosen to relocate here because they have found good support, and they realize that going back to their home environment is not going to be a good option for them. So they have chosen to stay here and have found good success with that.
Yeah, well, that's good. Helping them to reestablish a
Yep.
more productive normal.
Yep.
Good.
Thank you for the work you do.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you, you as well.
You guys best.
All right, next up, discuss bid for surplus property, 2914 Industrial Avenue, that we've postponed for a few weeks now, so open it up for any discussion, input. We have Mr. Tobin and Mr. Harris in the room that we've received an offer from.
Are there any new developments?
Can we,
should be aware of?
can we address the, do you care if we,
Please do.
Absolutely, absolutely.
come on up, Jake? I'm Rod Tobin. I'm an attorney for the Development Corporation and for Harris Machine. Jay Harris is with me today. Jay's the gentleman who submitted the bid. I am here to hopefully let the county know that there's I think a really unique opportunity to both bring a quality employer to Aberdeen and keep our regional jail on the forefront of our consciousness. Nobody wants that to go away. I know that we had tough sledding at the legislature this year. That doesn't mean it's dead. It doesn't mean we're not going to fight like heck at the Development Corporation to get that regional jail here. But we have an opportunity now with Harris Machine to both capture an employer that will end up with a payroll of over $7 million at some point in time, and pursue a regional jail complex at a different location. It's a rare opportunity to make both things happen. I know the county, maybe your primary role sitting in this chamber isn't necessarily economic development, but there's a real opportunity for this sale to be a form of economic development. And let me explain that a little bit. So, I know you bought that building on the concept of the regional jail. I understand that. Harris Machine is a company that started in Oaks, North Dakota. Jay and his brother are farmers by trade, but decided they need to do a little machine work. And that's since grown in Oaks into a $3.5 million payroll, employing many people up there. The quality of their work is well known. Terex out of Watertown is a huge customer. Their contracts keep coming in, they need to expand. Jay and his brother are very contemplative business people, and they did all the analysis and decided that if they can find a facility in Aberdeen, this is the place they need to come. Starting wage for these people are going to be, most of the people are going to be 30 or over. There's a lot of people in Oaks that are earning six figures right now, doing the work that they do. We're going to hire 30 people right from the get-go. We're going to go to 50 within a year, and hopefully get to 100 as quickly as we possibly can because of the way the orders are coming in. That's going to generate eventually a payroll that's double Oaks' payroll. We're going to be at a $7 million payroll. In addition, to make that building work, we're going to put in several $1 million of improvements. Right now, the sprinkler system in the building, for some reason, somehow got damaged during the decommissioning. You know, that's a several $100,000 build out just with that. Jay's really high on his employees and their safety, so he's not going to skimp on those kind of safety measures. So the sprinkler system will get redone, get people in there, get equipment in there. The consumables they buy, the welding rods, the welding wire, the gas, all that thing, that's $1 million a year that's going to get spent in Brown County. Those people are all going to live and work in Brown County for the most part. The building right now is not on the tax rolls. It'll be brought back onto the tax rolls immediately upon a sale to a private property owner. If the county holds the building, engages with a commercial realtor, let's say, to try and sell that property for a higher fee, commercial realtors don't work cheap. 5 to 6% is a normal commission. Times are tougher. That's anywhere from $225,000 to $275,000 in commission if they manage to find a buyer for the building at $4.5 million. So that takes a lot of that extra money that you're hoping to garner maybe from the sale and knocks it down. So I'm trying to put on my thinking hat from your perspectives about we'd like a higher price, we'd like the regional jail. I understand both of those desires, but I think there's an opportunity to take Jay's current offer, which I want to make sure everybody's clear. It's $4 million right now. The Development Corporation has given that extra 11 acres to the west. They've thrown that in the pot, and Jay's agreed to increase his bid from $3.6 to $4 million with the add of that land. Okay? So it's $4 million to the county because the Development Corporation is going to kick in that land into the deal. That's less than what you were hoping to get, I understand that, but the economic benefit of Harris Machine coming to Aberdeen and immediately opening up shop and immediately getting that building back on the tax rolls and saving the carrying costs. Right now the county's got some utility expense, we've got maintenance expense on that building. You know the hardest thing on a building is sitting empty. I mean, it just deteriorates. It's not great. So all of those things work in the county's favor. So we turn this from a hold cost or maybe a negative cost to a positive cash flow, while still keeping the regional jail on the forefront of everybody's mind for economic development purposes. The other thing Harris is committed to is if and when we get the regional jail here, Harris wants to have an apprenticeship program. Let's get these people that have had a tough road, who have been incarcerated, that need a way out, let's give them an apprenticeship program in Harris Machine to get a path to a new career, to a new job. Jay will work with the county or whoever's going to be running the facility to make sure that there's an opportunity for these people to have some job experience. So that's, again, it dovetails in with what I think the county's goal for that building was, but we can make a great economic use of it. Communities like Aberdeen fight tooth and nail every day to get employers to come, but to get an employer like Harris with that level of payroll and that number of jobs to come to our community, that's a rare event. And so I really encourage the county to carefully consider and to really think about the benefit to the immediate benefit to the community of bringing Harris in. You go to Oaks right now, you can't drive down the street without saying something with the name Harris associated with it. And that's the commitment that the Harris brothers bring to the communities in which they operate. And they'll do the same thing in Aberdeen. It won't be just the payroll. It'll be sponsoring the various activities and events that happen in the county, whether it's the fair or other things. Harris will integrate itself into the community. And with that many people living and working here, associated with Harris, it's a very good opportunity for the county. So I know the gross dollars are probably a little less than the county was hoping for, but the other reality of this is the interest rates did not work in our favor over the time frame of holding the building, and that's just a stark truth. I mean, it's horrible. I mean, if interest rates were still at 3 or 4%, we'd probably have a different conversation today, quite frankly. But they're not. And as a business person, you folks know this, that the interest costs are a big part of having a business that's going to be successful, and they've got to be taken into account. So I think when you consider the amount of immediate investment in that building to bring it up, money that will be spent in Brown County, the payroll that's going to be brought to Brown County, the tax revenues that will be generated from that building immediately, I think this really is not a negative cash flow situation for the county. I think this really is a positive opportunity to do some real economic development work by bringing Harris Machine here, letting them go to work and start generating business. That 11 acres to the west is a great expansion opportunity. I mean, we're kind of anchoring Harris here. They're gonna have a lot of opportunity to keep growing. I mean, Jay's not that old. When I first met him, I thought, holy crap, you're a lot younger than me, and you've already built this extremely successful business. So there's a lot of room for Harris to grow and continue to run. So I respectfully request that the county take the bid, the $4 million. Let's grow. Let's add these jobs to the community, and let's continue to work on the regional jail complex in a location that works for the regional jail. I'm not sure what that is or where that is, but you have the support of the Development Corporation to make sure that we're pounding the halls and pier, whatever we have to do to try and get that jail here. It needs to be here. We know that. And that's another great employer. So we get 2 for 1. The bird in the hand today, the bird in the bush tomorrow. Do you have any questions that I can answer about the company coming here or how we're going to use that building and what we're going to do?
I don't. I've had the opportunity to visit with Jay on more than one occasion, and like you said, I think they have a good business plan put together, and they think through their future plans, and so yeah, that's why they are as successful as they are today. So
They've got a proven track record. This isn't just a startup. This is
Right.
a business that's been around a long time.
right.
Any other commissioners that can?
If we approve the sale at 4, what do you anticipate for close?
When to close?
Just what we would ask for the ability to lease the facility for $1 basically until close, just so we can start getting in there, getting the sprinklers fixed, get everything going, and I would say we could hold probably that 90-day thing, and be contingent on some of these, the ready loan and some different things working. But according to people we've spoke with, I think that's 90 days would be doable.
So ballpark October 15th or
Our critical
their
component would be to get in that thing and get going, you know, so.
The pace of business dictates that we really need to be able to move forward, like Jay said. If the county's willing to let us do that, we'll get in and start working on the sprinkler system, getting equipment ordered, do all the things necessary to get the employees in there and start making some product.
I'm just curious about the logistics, because I know
Yep.
you're highly motivated to get going, and it's gonna be snowing before we know it here.
Yeah.
But as nice as it is out.
Yep. If you'll let us in, we'll start work immediately.
The only question I would have is for Ross. We went through the bid process, the sealed bid process. We only got one legitimate bid, and that came in at 3.6. Now through the process of postponement and letting them think on it a little bit more, they've upped their offer to 4. Does that in any way, shape, or form violate any open bid process or a bid process that we are violating anything by accepting a higher bid?
I think from an order of operations standpoint, if you guys want to go down this road, there's that statute, we can work through ADC to sell it on a negotiated basis, which is what we're talking about here.
Yep.
So step 1 would be reject the bid,
Correct.
and then continue to negotiate and work out the details with Mr. Harris and ADC if that's the route we want to go.
Okay.
We're kind of lucky in that statute applies to industrial development, and that's exactly what we're talking about here.
Right.
I just want to make sure everybody understood that what we're doing is above board and it's covered by South Dakota statute and legal, and so we're...
That's what I anticipate, is that we reject the bid, and however we have a negotiated offer that we're willing to accept.
Would that be something that we could do quickly? I mean, as far as the negotiated aspect, like this could happen like this week?
It's already Thursday, so I would have no problem with it if it's the wishes of the commission to reject the previous bid and then start the process of putting together the agreement and the language and so on. If it's the wishes of my 4 counterparts.
What we need is a lease and a purchase agreement.
Yep.
I could have those
We
to you
have
by...
those. We can just use the old ones, basically.
Yeah, either that or if you want me to put something together, I can, or if you got something you want to work
That
from.
would be helpful,
Yep.
otherwise we can use the ones from when we...
We'll get them to you tomorrow.
Any other questions by any of the commissioners? Or Ross, do you have anything clear?
And I just wanna make clear, Development Corporation is obviously putting a lot of skin in the game by donating this piece of land, but they wouldn't do it for just anybody. Harris has been vetted as a quality employer for our community, what they're gonna do for the job, so that's why Development Corporation is taking this step. So I'm glad that we have the statute to work through, because I don't want it to be just thought of, well, you know, Development Corporation is just donating this land for any purpose. That's not the case. It's for Harris coming. If the county's willing to do this, then let's get them here. Development Corporation will do their part by donating the land. Does that make sense? Okay.
We'll need a resolution too, and I can draft that.
How soon do you foresee getting to 100 employees?
So it takes a little time in our business to get the product into fruition. So every new, say John Deere gives us a job, we have to go through this PPAP process. So from quoting to PPAP, you're looking at 6 months per part. So we've got other work we're gonna shift here. So we've got enough work sitting there right now to probably get to 25 people by, I'd say, midwinter. And then we'd say the next goal would be 50. I'd say 100, the goal would be 2 to 3 years, you know, assuming obviously the economy and these other variables that we can't control, but we'll be in for the long haul, so we would,
Commissioner Weiss?
If you don't mind, brief recap. This building became available through some interesting circumstances. The Development Corporation actually exercised an option on it when it became available, and there were some discussions, and the county was in the process of working with a consultant to try and determine what our options were. And unfortunately, I didn't get the numbers today, and I understand why, but I believe, you know, our advertised capacity is 48. I'm guessing we're at about 60 to 62 today.
Wow.
You know, and proper capacity would be 80% of what your capacity is. So it continues to be a critical problem, and this is something that I've tried to focus on in my 20-plus years that I've been here. I think the building for a regional jail is still a very good viable option, notwithstanding the fact that it would take $20 million to build it out. The building itself is sound. It has some issues. It's very old. It does lend itself to that. It's originally designed as a manufacturing facility. It needs updating. I've got to say, I've gotten to know Jay a little bit. I have toured his facility. Very gracious in allowing us to view that, and I'm incredibly impressed with the quality of work and the quality of their operation and his character, and I would welcome them as an addition to this community with open arms. I have talked to and have many friends that spent most of their career manufacturing some incredible things in that building, and several of them who would look forward to doing that again as partners with Mr. Harris and his operation. The building itself, when it became available, was a narrow window of opportunity. Basically, if you don't mind, the Development Corporation acquired the property, not so much because they wanted to own it, but because you wanted to have some control over where it went as far as investors. Your board was appropriately reluctant to sell it to the county, but knowing that the jail is a critical need for us to expand those facilities, and we did work through that. I worked, I wouldn't say tirelessly, but pretty hard a year and a half ago through the legislative session because the money wasn't available. That was during the COVID times, and there was federal money and ARPA money that was available, but at the time during session, there were restrictions on it that would not allow the county to use that money for the purchase of this building or like kinds of projects. That circumstance, the state chose not to assist with the purchase of the building, which was the first step going forward with that. I've made the commitment and still would like to continue to do that, to try and put this project together, not only for Brown County and its needs, but for the region as a whole. 14 to 20 other counties, as well as some of our neighbors, you know, to the north and to the east. It's a critical need. Things have changed over, you know, those 25 years I've been involved, where, you know, people that we have in jail need to be in jail, and many of them there for an extended period of time, sometimes up to 2 years, post and pre-adjudication. So, when you've got a handful of beds in your capacity you're taking up with those kind of things, the shorter term ones, you just don't have that. So shortly after that session a year and a half ago, the rules for the ARPA funds changed that allowed the county and counties across the nation to use those ARPA funds appropriately for this type of purpose. And so we chose with a caveat that if we couldn't come up with the funding to build it out without going to a bond or an opt-out, which there was just a vote in one of our neighboring regional counties last week not to opt out, even though several other commissioners feel that they need to. But anyway, the commitment was made, and I agreed with that if we couldn't find the funding either with partners with other regional counties or the state or someone else to come up with the funds without having to opt out of the property tax cap or bond out, then we would sell the building. And that's a process. It's not something that happens overnight, and we're, in that process right now. And so we worked very hard. We were successful in convincing the legislature to give us 2 summer studies, testified, and the region and the state came together to help illuminate the fact that this is not just a Brown County or a Northeast South Dakota problem. This is a statewide issue that needs to be addressed with the limited resources that the counties have. Quite frankly, the state hasn't stepped up to its responsibility when it comes to the prison system, and they sure as hell aren't helping the counties with our responsibility locally and regionally when it comes to, our participation in the legal process to do that. So it's incredibly frustrating that the state chooses not to address this issue, especially considering, they're not, awash with money, but quite frankly, the state's not in a bad position and would be in a position to help and address some of this issue and simply chooses not to, which is very unfortunate. We did use $4.5 million of ARPA funds. There's been some improvements to the facility, but there's still a lot of work to be done with that. I would like to get the $4.5 million back out of it, but considering the totality of the circumstances and us being able to take that money and put it back in, I don't know, we're going to have to put it in a dedicated fund, but with the intention that we're going to continue to move forward, which we have to do, and Sheriff Lensman is here, thank you for being here this morning. We have to continue to focus on what we're going to do to address this overcrowding situation in our jail. So with that, I'm going to reluctantly support your request.
I really appreciate that, Commissioner Weiss. And I want to thank the county for the support of Harris Machine, because I know that Jay has talked to many of you, and I know that you've gone out and toured the facility. The county's gone above and beyond. I know that, Mike, you and Dwayne came and talked to the Development Corporation about the regional jail concept. It's something that I wish more people in Brown County understood. That in and of itself, in addition to covering the need because of the overcrowding, it's actually a real economic development opportunity in itself for the county because of its jobs that it would bring here. I don't know of a way to educate the populace any better than you have undertaken to do so. So again, everybody is behind and committed to that. The Development Corporation latched on to your leadership and said that's the right thing to do. It's a great idea. The state didn't help. But that doesn't mean we're going to give up the fight, and ADC is going to be a partner with the county and whoever else it needs to be to get that concept moved forward. So I appreciate your support. I think it's a great use of the building. Let's build on that, get some more revenues into the county from the tax base, but keep striving to use that money to get that facility. So I appreciate your comments. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Sure. Can we go through the consent calendar and not hold these people up and have a short exec, like a 5-minute exec, after we're done with the consent calendar? There's a couple things I want to discuss with the board and you, and there's an option that we're going to explore, and I don't know if it'll work, but I think we as a commission need to look at an option here before we continue on. I'm all in favor of having Harris Brothers down here. I toured their facility much like you did, and I was very impressed. But there's a little thing I'd like to discuss and I don't want to put everything off, so if we could go through the consent calendar and then have a short exec for contract.
So for the first time, I would entertain a motion to table the discussion on this. And then we'll take it up after we get through our consent calendar, we'll go into exec.
Okay.
You okay with that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'll second the motion.
I'll motion.
Okay, we have a
Table.
motion by Feldheim, second by Denner, to table the discussion on the, discuss the bid of surplus property. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. So we will take action on that later during this meeting. We'll move on to the consent calendar. Janelle?
Approval of general meeting minutes from June 27th, 2023.
Move. Second.
Motion by Weiss, second by Denner. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Claims and payroll.
Move. Second.
Motion by Denner, second by Weiss. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
HR report.
Move.
Motion by Feldheim,
Second.
second by Weiss. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Claim assignment.
Move. Second.
Motion by Weiss, second by Denner. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Auditor's report of accounts.
Move. Second.
Motion by Feldheim, second by Gage. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Plat.
Move.
Motion by Weiss, second by Gage. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Leases.
Move. Second.
Motion by Denner, second by Weiss. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Favor contract.
Move.
Motion by Weiss, second by Denner. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Lottery permit.
Move. Second.
Motion by Denner, second by Weiss. I'm sorry, Feldheim. It came from over here and I couldn't tell what to do. Motion by Feldheim, second by Weiss. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Authorized chairman to sign third quarter LEMPG report.
Move.
Motion by Weiss,
Second.
second by Gage. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Any other business to come before the Brown County Commission this morning before we go into exec?
Bob Schatz, I'd like to make a comment on that building. I know you tabled it for right now. That has to happen. So it's costing the taxpayers $550 a day, every day to have it. And it needs to get sold. A plan for a regional jail or what to do with the current jail has to come out. It can't just be a fly by the seat of your pants type of a deal. And that seems to be what's been going on. So the sale does need to happen.
Thank you. All right, anything else?
I believe, we just go into exec for contract for now, because I believe we'll have an exec for personnel, because we can do them separate, can't we?
We can, yes.
Just to speed things up to,
HR requested an exec also for personnel.
move to go into exec for contract.
Second. Motion by Feldheim, second by Weiss to go into exec for contracts. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We are in exec. Lights back on. We're back in session. You can't.
But, okay.
All right, we're out of exec. At this point, I would entertain a motion to reject the previous $3.6 million bid that we received for the sale of the property.
Move.
Motion by Weiss, second by Gage. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. As a result of rejecting that bid, we will begin negotiations with the Harris Group on potential purchase, their potential purchase, our potential sale of that building, so.
Yeah, I worked directly with the State's Attorney's Office then and trying to put together some kind of documentation for...
Absolutely.
Based on our discussions today.
Yes, that's our
Okay,
plan.
I'll talk to you tomorrow for sure, I'll have something.
You guys available to meet Monday with Doug and Dwayne?
Absolutely.
Okay. We'll just set that up your email later.
Let me know, absolutely.
Let us know a time and we'll,
The sooner the better, because I'm sure I'll have to clear something out, but I'll make room for the county.
Okay, I'll look at my calendar when I get back.
Okay.
Figure it out.
Appreciate it. Thank you, gentlemen.
all right,
Really
thank
appreciate
you.
your time
Thanks,
today.
Raj. Thanks,
Appreciate
Jay.
the opportunity.
You bet, thank you.
Thank you.
Look forward to
Thank you,
working
Jay.
on you. Thanks.
Good.
Us too, thank you. So as a result of that action, I think we need to echo the concerns of Commissioner Weiss that the regional jail or a new Brown County jail, whatever we wanna call it, has still gotta be a top priority, and we can't drop that ball. We've gotta keep it moving forward, because the need will continue to be critical, and we've gotta get back on track on planning ahead for the future, so. Anything else to come before the Brown County Commission this morning? We've had a request to go into exec for both personnel and legal. Motion by Weiss. Second by Dennard. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We are in exec. All right, lights back on. Is there anything else to come before the Brown County Commission? Not entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move.
Motion by Solheim, second by Weiss. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We are adjourned.